Bennett of Manor Castle.
Thank you, my Lords, and apologies for the technical hitch. I was unable to see or hear the committee. I was going to say that it was a pleasure to follow Lord Billamoria's focus on the terrible standard of UK housing stock and the need to decarbonise home heating. This is the Cinderella of energy policy, and it needs to be put centre stage. But it is also a great pleasure to follow the noble lady Baroness Mackintosh of Pickering, something that is no surprise to be following her given her intense involvement in environmental issues. It's always my intention to be positive when I can, so I begin by welcoming the fact that there's been consultation with and agreement from the nations of the UK with this order, something that we would like to see happening in many other areas of government. I also welcome the fact that there's a promised and apparently firm timetable for appropriately aligning to a net zero trajectory by January 2023 and no later than January 2024. Of course, however, I would like to see faster action. The net zero by 2050 target is grossly inadequate, both when you look at the science and look at the facts on the ground, from the failure of the Arctic sea ice to begin reformation this year, to the fact that in Colorado, they're hoping for snow to end an unprecedentedly long wildfire season. The Green Party is calling for a 2030 net zero target. One thing that COVID-19 has shown us is that the way our society operates can change very quickly under emergency conditions, and we are in a climate emergency now. The whole of the Arctic Ocean is heading for ice-free conditions in the future, possibly very soon, defined as less than 1 million square kilometres of ice cover. That's down from 8 million square kilometres just 40 years ago. We have just come globally out of the warmest September on record, and it's now more likely than not that 2020 will be the warmest year for the Earth's surface since reliable records began, and that without a major El Nino event, which has contributed to most of the prior record warm years. Now, the noble Lord Billamoria painted a picture of successful policy. I don't think that looks like a successful picture. With the COVID-19 lockdowns, there was a significant drop in emissions in the first half of the year globally. But I want to quote Jans Joachim Schelhemher, founding director of the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research. He said, while the carbon dioxide drop is unprecedented, decreases of human activity cannot be the answer. Instead, we need structural and transformational changes in our energy production and consumption systems. Individual behaviour is certainly important, but what we really need to focus on is reducing the carbon intensity of our global economy. In simpler terms, that's system change, not climate change, which is what this statutory instrument has to be part of delivering. As the Green Party has always said, individual action cannot make a difference on the scale we need. We need to make a massive adjustment, a transformation of our economy and our society. So we're no longer seeing a few profit from pumping carbon into the air, while the rest of us pay with a planet in flames. I am disappointed that the noble lady, the minister's introduction, made such a focus on economic growth. To quote a long-term Green saying, you cannot have infinite growth on a finite planet. Economic growth has given us an unhealthy, poverty-stricken, unstable society. We need a different target and policies and systems to deliver the energy and goods people need within the physical limits of this one fragile, damaged planet. And I will make no apologies for continuing to remind your Lordship's House that the UK has a unique responsibility as the chair of COP26. If we think about what history will remember from this period, the result of that meeting will feature far higher, for good or ill, than any other events of our time, no matter how hard-pressed we are at this moment by the COVID-19 pandemic, interacting with the pressing poverty and inequality in our society, as a member of your Lordship's House, Baroness Lawrence, has highlighted in an important report today. I would suggest to the committee we ask ourselves, the SI today, all of government policies, are they going far enough? Will they be part of the solution or part of the problem? Now, the position of the Green Alliance UK on the UK emissions trading replacement for the EU ETS scheme is that, and I quote, the general principle that should apply is that any new regime has to be as strong or stronger than current arrangements. That would seem to be the promise of government policy, although as so often with what we debate in your Lordship's House, there's a risk of a devil in the detail, in an SI scheduled for next month, in the arrangements for free allowances to allow businesses most at risk of transferring production to other countries with less stringent emissions constraints. And of course, it's impossible to talk about EU ETS without reflecting on how it failed to deliver the needed changes. When the history of the past decade of carbon policy is written, it is likely to figure as one of the great failures, and we need to look at this as SI in that context. So we come back to the UK's role as the chair of COP26. We have the dreadful suffering of a pandemic. We have the chaos at the end of the Brexit transition period. And yet we've yet to hear, as the Noble Lord, Lord Villamoria referred to, about how the talks about the integration of EU ETS and Britain's scheme will interact, what progress is being made. That's one of the many areas that I look forward to hearing responses from the Minister to mine and other people's questions. Thank you, my lords.